I don't know how I continue to do this, folks, but I have another insane guest on Troubles Digest, and it is. I'm like batting 1,000 with German wrestling guests because I had Felix Kohlenberg, which insane. I still don't know how the hell Felix was like, yeah, I'll just let this guy talk to me for a while, and he was gracious and amazing. And now I have Mett Dimassi, the English commentator for WXW, but he's not just the English commentator for WXW. I feel like you are like at this point you are a part of the machine, sir. You seem to do a lot of things.
I mean, thank you for the super nice intro. I mean, I don't see myself as that important, but I super appreciate. I mean, not just having me on, but also just generally how much you're writing and talking about WXW. I think it's always important to get WXW as much exposure, I think, as it should get, because in my bias but very humble opinion, it is one of like an unbelievable promotion, with an amazing product. But yeah, for commentary, some ring announcing, backstage interviews, I've kind of been expanding, I guess, my workload at WXW of late. But it's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, you really like jolted me when I first checked out WXW. I was like, I'll check out WXW. Oh, they have English commentary. Great. I had been out of the loop with WXW for years. I was one of those guys that way back in the day when guys like Generico and those names were going over, I obviously would follow, but then I would sort of fall out of it, right? And back then, we're talking like 2011, 2012, it was not simple to follow WXW regularly either. So it's like, unless you're, because what I was doing, to be really fair, is unless you wanted your download ratio on fucking Extreme Wrestling torrents to go down because you're downloading all the shows, you couldn't really do that, right? So it was like, fell in and out. Then I figured out WXW Now, Triller had you guys, and it was like, oh, this is easy. Then there's no excuse, right? And that was my biggest thing, and that's what I preach about you guys. Is guys, I don't care where you're at. If you know English, you can watch it. If you know German, you can watch it. I'm pretty sure if you know anything, you can figure it out. And I just think you guys are putting on such beautiful shows, and it's not just the shows. I really love that, it is a festival atmosphere. We had the Grand Prix weekend. Now we have Carrot Gold. We have obviously have World Tag Festival that happens. That's what I love most about what WXW does is you guys make it feel like more than just a wrestling show. And I want more people to see them.
I mean, like, that's all music to my ears, because that's very much so what we sort of try to do. Like, it's still very much independent pro wrestling, but and I've heard this especially from a lot of friends in the U.S., who've talked about just how different the production value for WXW is, and to be fair, it's also something that's always nice to hear, because it's something we're always working on trying to improve. And it's not like we have, let's say, endless funds or endless resources or anything at WXW. Not that I'm on that side of things, but I think,
Right.
if you try to do your best with what you've got, and you constantly try to improve how you work with your tools, because in the end, it's all just tools, right? It's all just a matter of what you do with it. And I think production is a very big part of WXW. So it's something we always strive to make better. So the fact that you enjoy it and you like it, and you notice it, is super heartwarming and super nice. I'm sure, for especially for the WXW office, who have invested into all of this, especially considering the fact that WXW's production has been a thing since long before I or even Mark Shuttle, the head of production, started with Catch Up Bills. And like, it's super fun to look back at WXW from a few years back, even, to now, and all the differences and the changes we've made, to a system that was already pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big compliment for you guys, for you to see that. And Also, to add to that, now that we're on IWTV as well, that's something I'm super excited about.
Yeah, man. And that's yeah, that's the first thing that grabbed me was the production value. And yeah, Mark Shaw, unbelievable guy. Another guy that, it's like
In
around
more
the
ways than one.
right. Yeah. In prepping for this interview, I like deep dove over like yesterday and then this morning big time. The streams that you and Mark would do, and you still do, I guess, a little bit, but where you would preview the shows and stuff, and you'd have guys on. Like, man, that's what I mean by like so many independents miss on that stuff, and it's like, well, that's like literally free 99. Like you just had to be there with Mark on those streams. And like it sold me. Like I'm going back in WXW now and I'm like, ooh, World Tag League 2023. I gotta watch that shit. That sounds amazing, right? So that's what I appreciate about what you guys do. You notice the little things, and I guess it's not a little thing, it's a big thing. I wanted to start off with like the beginning for you. What got you into wrestling? Because I'm always intrigued by anyone that lives in Europe. How the hell do you discover this stuff, especially back in the day?
So here's the funny thing: I wasn't living in Europe.
Oh my God, here we
I'm
go.
actually Lebanese. I was born and raised in Lebanon. That's Middle East. If anybody doesn't know what country
Yeah,
that is, the one with a nice big green tree on it. I was actually born and raised in Lebanon. I actually came to Germany when I was about 18 with my family. So my parents and my brother, we came here as initially as refugees, and then eventually we got sort of residency through integration, kind of, learned the language, got a job and everything, and eventually we got integrated, and were able to get the residency. But to go back to the original point, I basically, my first memories of life are basically pro wrestling. It's just my parents going through TV channels in Lebanon, and you used to get like Raw and SmackDown. I think Raw used to be on a channel called ART, and SmackDown used to be on something called TV Land. Back when you remember satellite TV, where you get these random
that
channels.
rules, man. Yeah.
I freaking loved it. But yeah, like I basically, my first memories are just pro wrestling. My parents just flipping through channels, I see it, and then I just fall in love. Like that's probably the only passion, alongside maybe video games, that's basically crossed out, so like, or came along since my childhood.
That's incredible, man. And as somebody based in America, really powerful story there, right? Like, hey, that is the story of a family that came over to a whole other country, and look at you, man. Like you've made the best of it. That's incredible. Um I wasn't sure. I was like, is he German? Is he not? Mett Dimassi? I'm not sure, right? So that's an incredible story, man. That's awesome. I love that
Thank you.
wrestling was huge in Lebanon. But when I think about it, in the 90s, WWF really went over to the Middle East and hit that hard when the American market went to shit. And honestly, it did dividends for their international audience.
Yeah, I mean, like wrestling is pretty big in Arabic countries. Like I'm still connected to an internet, like a kind of like a wrestling group. I was part of like some time, like, oh, actually 10 years ago, like 2016. That was like way before I even knew WXW was a thing.
That is so
Where you
awesome.
just talk about WWE, and just you enjoy a little bit of your wrestling fandom and everything. And funny enough, I've never met any of the guys, because at that point I was already in Germany. But yeah, like Arabic countries definitely have a big wrestling, a big wrestling scene. Or I say big. It's always been kind of a budding scene. I know there's some wrestling promotions scattered across Arabic countries. I think Dubai definitely has one with Shaheen.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like honestly, one of my little pipe dreams, which I don't know if I'll ever really do it, is to maybe start a wrestling scene in Lebanon, because I discovered, saw a random post, and you can't really 100% trust the internet or Facebook or anything, but
Right.
there was actually a pro wrestling scene with actual matches of Lebanese wrestlers. I think somewhere in the 70s, in Lebanon. Um,
I believe it.
so yeah, like especially also back then. I think basically any Arab listening to this would I would say Captain Mahmoud, who was and then they'll know exactly who it is. It's an Egyptian pro wrestler who was active around like the 60s and 70s, and I don't know when. Like he's wrestled Ric Flair in Puerto Rico or something.
That's dope, man.
Who and the best like he used to run this TV this show where he'd run down sort of WWE highlights, and you'd have him doing commentary over the commentary. To this day, I'm not sure if he actually had any kind of like the rights to do so at all. But
Fuck no,
fair,
there's no way he did. I
I mean,
love that.
I would be. It's almost funnier if he didn't,
Right.
because it was on like syndicated Arabic TV, right? So it was going through like a
Yeah.
bunch of countries.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but it's but to be fair, he he's a fond memory that I think a lot of Arabic pro wrestling fans also like probably have, depending of course on when you were born. Like if you're my generation, so like 1996 and stuff, for sure. But yeah, like I didn't think we'd be talking about pro wrestling in Arabic
Brother,
countries
that
or Lebanon, but yeah.
hey, I had fucking Felix talking about John Zandig, brother. That is my gimmick. That is, I always, like when I'll say this, very long story, I'm sure, and I'm trying to sit very, very much condense it. Jesus, I don't even remember words now. Uh, I get what you mean by your local guy, because my guy, oddly enough, was Sid. Yes, Sid from wrestling fame, from Arn Anderson stabbing fame. Well, maybe infamy. Because Sid was from West Memphis, Arkansas. I grew up in Arkansas. And let me tell you, dude, it ain't Lebanon, but it feels like it. There was no scene to speak of when I was a kid. And I always hated it because all I ever wanted to do was go see live wrestling. I did not see live wrestling until I was a grown man. I think I was like 23 the first time I ever saw like real live wrestling, not just some shit going on in a, untrained guys. That's a whole different conversation. So I totally get what you mean. And I think I think that's something that can happen, man. Because I never thought there'd be a scene. There's a scene where I'm from now. It's crazy.
I think I just narrowly beat you on like my first ever live wrestling show.
Yeah.
I think I must have been probably 22 because my first live wrestling show was actually, and there was this little trend recently, like I would say recently, maybe like a year and a half ago, where everybody was posting their first match or like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
post a screenshot of cage match of your first ever show.
Yeah.
And people were like posting 1993 and 2000 and all these like years ago. And I'm like, boom, 18th anniversary WXW. That was my first ever live wrestling show. I was
That
22.
rules.
But yeah, like I think especially like you'll get it as well because you were somewhere where there isn't much of a scene. I think having a local independent pro wrestling scene near you or a promotion or a school or whatever it is, of course, as long as it's a good school, it's not or a good promotion.
Yeah.
Not because as much as we all love wrestling, there's enough shady corners. But if you have like a good school or promotion or scene near you, it's something that I think a lot of people tend to maybe take for granted without realizing. But it is something super special. Like I would have loved to have something like that as a kid.
Oh, dude, yeah, and it definitely is taken for granted. Now I live in Jacksonville, Florida, and when NXT was hot, they ran Jacksonville a lot, right? Well, now NXT not so hot. Really, just live wrestling in America not so hot, and so those shows went away, and really in turn, the local scene kind of went away, and it's a shame, and I wish that didn't happen so much. Because it is what makes great pro wrestlers. I mean, people have to remember guys like Chris Hero came from like fucking IWA Mid South, man. Like that you need that. You need that sort of that early galvanization of your vision, And WXW was that for so many people, right? I mean, my God, Gunther, are you kidding? Like the hottest heel in the world right now. Ilya Dragunov, obviously Axel Tischer. I mean, the list goes on, and it's really
Yeah, I mean,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's something I sort of discovered, especially now. I feel like with the 16 karat gold right around the corner,
Yes.
and it being the 20th year of 16 karat gold because it started in 2006, right? So
Yes.
that's something I've been preparing a lot of stuff between commentary notes and everything with the other commentators, and a couple extra things that we're doing that I'm doing or helping out with. Sort of I went through and checked sort of the history of everybody that's not just won the tournament, but also been in the tournament. And that's not even counting just the people that we've had over for the weekend that didn't compete in the tournament necessarily. Like, you look at a Minoru Suzuki this year, part of Ambition, and I think Night 3. Um,
Yeah.
it's just kind of insane the amount of talent that's kind of come through here between your Chris Heroes, your AJ Styles, or Cody Rhodes, and Brian Danielson, and all these kind of different guys. But also the talent that's kind of come up here or had or like sort of I'll say sunk their teeth into WXW and built their foundation more or less partly also here. Like, you got your Gunthers, your Ludwig Kaisers, your Axel Fishers,
Oh, of course.
your Alistair Blacks. Cesaro was, I think, even in the first ever WXW main event
He
in,
was.
in the Tour
Yes.
Rock. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, like WXW has been a big part of the European scene, and I personally wasn't familiar with it when I first came to Germany, but um, WXW has this super special, and like some other people might have a different experience, but this is mine. It has this super, super strong way of pulling you in to
Yes.
where you feel like you belong at a WXW show. And that's sort of something that I think the office and everybody's super wary of and super nurturing of this if you go to a WXW show, you're there to have a good time, to really enjoy yourself and feel like you're part of something big. And that's definitely my feeling, at least. My own biased but personal opinion.
Yeah. You're actually not being paid to say that, but you do get paid by the company. So it is like that where you're like, I swear
I
it's
mean, yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I'm not full time or anything close to that, but like WXW is as much a passion project. A project. I mean, I say passion project. It's just as much a passion of mine as a lot of other stuff. Like,
Hmm.
um, wherever I can help, I want to try to help and try to have a good effect because, beyond the sort of in the last few years, WXW and the people that I've met at WXW has given me a lot on a personal level. So, if any way I can give back and help everybody get something like the same way I did, like I'm always down for it. I'm always happy to try to see others succeed, and or at least get a piece of the pie that I've enjoyed for the last, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about, you know, your sort of I'll call it a rise. I think you're rising, man. I see a lot of people talking about you as like a really great commentator, man. And like it's because of the passion. It comes through. And I think that's always going to be, when you think about the pantheon of great announcers in history, that they all have that in common. Like when they're at their best, it's when they're loving what they're doing. And when they're at their worst, it's when they're unmotivated, right? And you're in a great spot because you love the company. You're doing this because you love the company. So you're not going to be like Tony Schiavone in WCW '99, right? You're not going to be disgruntled or whatever. So listening to you, it's just a pure view of what's going on. And what I really appreciated right away was you do know German, so you can give us that direct. You're like the way I thought about it this morning, and I was like, really, that's what your biggest talent is, I think, for WXW is you're the Chris Charlton. You can directly translate what they're saying to us, and you can make us feel that in the ring as well. And I think that is a really unique trait.
I think, yeah. The thing is, I first of all, when I first got sort of asked by Robert Dreisker, because initially I signed up to the WXW Academy to become a wrestler. That was actually what my first goal was.
I was going to
But
ask about this, so this is perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I fell into it. Because I think if you take one look at me, though, you can tell exactly why I never became a wrestler. Partly because I never shut up, but the other part is just the fact that I'm not super disciplined. Not somebody that enjoys working out necessarily. I just like being in the ring and this idea of being a wrestler. And the more I thought about it, though, I realized that it's more so always been promos that's drawn me to pro wrestling more so than the wrestling itself. And again, as a kid, I never imagined like, oh yeah, I'll have a great match or I'll do all these cool moves. It was always like, oh yeah, this promo or oh yeah, a return or oh yeah, you know what I mean? Whatever you see on TV and you think is cool. And for me, it was always like promos and always segments and what people, funny enough, which is I think kind of an antithesis of what a lot of people have with pro wrestling. With me, it was the segments. I always liked the segments. I always liked seeing character much more so than just seeing just the match,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think it makes complete
We're
sense.
all drawn to sort of different stuff. And yeah, like I never really made it as a wrestler, but that's Robert Dresker is the reason I was in the business. I'm in the business. It's just because Robert is an unbelievable coach, and I don't think he gets his flowers as much as he should for just how unbelievably capable and intelligent he is. Um, but he wears a lot of hats, and one of them is just the hat of a not just a great coach, but a great eye for talent. Because you look at the if there's something in you, he'll see it, and he'll give you the opportunity to work on it. So whether he sees you as a manager, or as a commentator, or as a referee, or anything, he'll try to push you in that direction. And to be honest, so far I haven't seen him eye somebody up as anything and be wrong. So I think I'd be remiss if I'm talking about how I got in, if I don't mention just how big of a role Robert Dresker played. And I've said this to him before, but I still, the thing is with Robert, he'll say something in passing in a very sarcastic way, but at the same time, and then he'll walk away like he did nothing when it's kind of a nugget that'll blow your entire mind and perception of what pro wrestling is.
That's awesome, man.
But that's just the kind of coach that he is. I think he knows how valuable that information is, but he doesn't realize just, I guess, how much how much in that moment he'll blow somebody's mind with what he says. He'll just turn around and waddle away. But yeah, sorry, I go on a lot of segues, so you're gonna need to maybe bring me in a little bit.
Oh, you're brother. That's why you're here, man. I love that shit. And I mean, honestly, we're hitting all the points that I wanted to hit. Yeah, because I don't know how I had found out that you had started training to be a wrestler, and then of course you became the commentator. And my biggest question is like, what exactly happened with that? Because I know Dave Bradshaw did it for a while, and there were a lot of changes in that English announce situation. And granted, it almost feels like the company realized like, oh, like this is actually an important big thing for us.
I mean, if you mean like, I'm assuming you mean like how I got into the English commentary from the German side of things.
Right, exactly. Because I know you'd been doing the
Yeah,
German stuff, right, to begin with.
yeah. So essentially, when I got brought in by Robert, he said, or in general, like the office said, like mainly I'm there to do German commentary because, to be fair as well, at the time, we had some fantastic guys on German commentary, but you can tell it kind of needed fresh blood because Dave, and you mentioned Dave Bradshaw, who I'm so absolutely stoked and excited to be working with this weekend again. Because
I
and a
loved
little
him.
side note again, I'm going to go segue. I think, and again, biased but very personal opinion, I think Dave Bradshaw is the best play-by-play pro wrestling commentator alive today. And with all due respect to every other commentator there is, I put Dave Bradshaw in the same breath as anybody alive today, both independent
Yes.
level and yes, Dave is absolutely unbelievable, and getting to work with him every time is sort of, oh yeah, let's see, maybe I've caught up with Dave a little, and then all of a sudden you realize there's still another ocean that you didn't realize.
Yeah.
Um, but to answer your question, because and try to stop with all the segues, uh,
The
yeah,
question,
like
Matt. I'm just gonna start screaming at you.
Yeah, honestly, that just sounds like the way I have a conversation with Mark. We'll be talking about something, and he's constantly just yelling at me to stay on point. Uh,
Oh man.
Squirrel, yeah, but essentially, I got brought in to do German commentary. And English commentary was set with Dave because, again, he's freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
But essentially, the big change happened when we started going live in both languages. Because it was live in German on WXW Now, and then English would get posted on WXW Now a few days later. Until we got the Triller deal in, I want to say June of like 24, I believe.
That seems
Um,
right.
and at
Yeah.
that point, yeah, at that point we were supposed to go live in both languages at the same time. So because of that, you kind of can't fly in Dave for every show, otherwise it gets really expensive really quick. And at that point, they made the decision of, okay, I'll be moved to the English commentary. And I believe at the time we were already talking to Joey Sensation, who does our German commentary, to hop onto the team. And I know they had been eyeing Joey, rightfully so, for a long time because Joey's absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Um, so he took over play-by-play for the German side, or I believe there was also a transitional period where it was Emil Fuller, who's going to be in Ambition and is actually the reason Ambition gets commentary now,
That's
because he did a great
awesome.
job assisting Carrot a few years ago. Um, but yeah, so it was Fuller and then Fuller and Joey, and then essentially now it's Joey and Aaron and Sane, who do our German language commentary, and I was transitioned over to the English side because we have to go live for every show. And that's another cool thing like that's happened in the last few years of WXW being fully live as it happens on two different platforms at the same time. So yeah, like again, going back to like just the strides that WXW's made,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's really amazing. Like the other day when I'm watching Dead End, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and I watch it on YouTube because I'm a psycho and I have WXW Now, and I also have WTV. Why I don't really know, but well, I do because I love how on WXW Now the archive. I mean, it's incredible what you guys have on there, man. It's so in depth, and that's huge for me because um, I don't. God, am I gonna start it today? I'm not sure. I'm gonna start writing about all the pandemic shows because I have this odd fascination with pandemic wrestling. I feel like it was like the last gasp of studio wrestling, and I really freaking loved that. Like when I discovered Memphis wrestling as a fan, it took over my life. Like that was like a year of like the early dating of my wife, and when I knew that she survived that psychosis, I was like, I gotta marry this woman. So uh, that was insane. But it goes to even that far back, and well, it goes all the way back. Jesus, I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, so the
Welcome to my
transition,
world.
dude. Yeah, it's the Met effect, man. But no, yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
have that aura of confusion.
no, you're good, man. I'm confused
All right, I
constantly.
cut you off twice accidentally. My bad.
Yeah, if you would have told me just a few years ago that, hey, WXW is going to go live with both languages on multiple platforms, I would have said, you're nuts. But here we are. Oh, Dead End, yeah. Like, I would say it was a pretty strong home run. The only time I had an issue was when I go from like network to network. Like if I went from my phone data to like Wi-Fi, there might be a hiccup, but other than that, it was solid. It was great. Most anyone I saw with the IWTV point of view was like, yeah, looked great. Maybe there was a couple hiccups, but hey, guys, that's going to happen. You have to remember, this is streaming from Germany to wherever you are, which is probably the States if you're on IWTV. So that was impressive. The fact that you guys hit that, and what a great move from the office to be like, let's test this thing out before the carrot and get all the kinks out, and then we'll go forward. So I think strong move. It was a great show too.
Yeah, I mean also the goal is always to just have the show run perfect, no hiccups at all with the technical side and the streaming side. But I think Mark does a fantastic job of it. But there's always going to be these hiccups here and there, especially since sometimes the setup isn't the easiest thing in the world for whatever show we're on. But that's kind of the goal, to be with being live, sort of deliver everything as it happens, avoid spoilers, and make sure it looks as good as possible in at the start of it already. And I think we have a super fantastic production team between Mark, Bori, who does the live event sort of tech, the whether it be the music, or the I don't know, the Titantron, the Tron. God, I
Yeah.
forgot the word. Or all the people we have doing cameras, or Sophia, who takes the pictures, or the social media team with Christina and Jan. Just, not to name drop everybody, but I think the first thing that I really noticed when I started working WXW, it's just it's a super capable team, and I feel like a lot of us sort of keep each other accountable, and try to always push to be better than we were the time before, just to make sure that it grows. And when you're surrounded with a group of people like that, it makes it a lot easier to just put your head down and be like, okay, yeah, I'm tired, and I don't feel like driving 6 hours to Leipzig to sit up in a dusty corner next to a skeleton and do live commentary.
Oh
But at
my
the same,
god.
I know it's going to be fun as hell.
Oh man. Well, there you go for all the people that watch the Leipzig shows. It's definitely. I'm not shocked that you said that. By the way, that would be that dingy, because man, and I love it. I love the look on camera. I'm a psychopath. One of my favorite arenas that there ever was the IWA arena in Clarksville, Indiana. Man, like I if it's in a tin shed, I'm there, man. So like I love that, and it's much nicer than that. So don't take my word for it about Leipzig, by the way.
Now, I like the Hellraiser's a metal bar, and that sort of speaks to me on a lot of levels. So, like,
Yes.
no, it's a really awesome venue. And it's a lot of fun. It's always sold out. The Leipzig crowd is, there's a couple of crowds where you think like, I don't know, it's not a difficult setup, but at the same time, you're like, it's like, there's you kind of tend to get a little more spoiled when you do more Turbinenhalles in Oberhausen, or the Markthalle in Hamburg, which is always a friggin' treat. But some of these crowds in like Bielefeld and in the Hellraiser in Leipzig are just so frenetic and energetic and awesome. Not to say that any of the other crowds that we have in WXW are different, but it's just when you get a crowd that's really into it, it's so easy to get into the action, and the wrestling just kind of flows.
Yeah, well, it's like, okay, back in the day, for instance, it's like, okay, you can go to any ECW show back in the heyday, right? But when you go to the ECW arena, it's a different vibe. And for you guys, I really think Market Hall is probably that for you guys. Like Hamburg is just different. Like Dead End was so loud, it was so live. They never went down. And then like even for stuff that isn't the match of the night, right? They're there for it and they care, and that is what you want to see as a fan, whether you're watching on demand or live or whatever. You can't get to Germany, like at least give me like a live crowd. And Leipzig is right there, man. Like they really are. It's a different vibe.
It is. They're wild, and they're always up for it. It's always just such a good vibe in Leipzig. Same thing with the Markthalle in Hamburg. Like, if you thought that was crazy, I don't know if you've seen the clip of when Kaiser made a short return at WXW, because Hamburg is his hometown as well. I believe it must have been the end of 2024. But I'll tell
Yes.
you, it was I think the same amount. But yeah, it was also sold out. And when that music hit, dude, I'll be honest, it looks good on camera, but it doesn't do it justice. Just yeah, absolute eruption
Yeah.
when his music hit and when he walked out. It's fantastic. But yeah, that's German crowds are very fun. And having especially done some French wrestling last year with APC, it's I also realized not just the crowds are different, but also the way the wrestling sort of is kind of different. And that's I think what is really cool about the European scene is that
Yeah.
just you go from one country to the next, and all of a sudden, sort of the vibe and the culture is completely different, not just of the country, but also of the wrestling fans. And that really makes it super fun to sort of go through and discover and see how the crowds are different from one another.
It reminds me a lot of, like, for me, my probably the zenith of my fandom would have been, the early 2000s. And at that time, you had Ring of Honor, you had PWG, IWA Mid South, you had CZW, a lot of like completely different crowds, different wrestling. But it was neat to see the mixing of those, and that's what I really do love about Europe, because it's very claustrophobic, right? So like if you want to take this serious and you want to be a star and get as big as you can get, you got to travel, right? So seeing Ricky Sosa wrestle in France, wrestle in Germany, wrestle in the UK, all these places, right? It makes him better. It makes the scene better when he goes back, right? Like I watched the match he had with him and Kuro.
Yeah,
Dude, I was like
yeah.
sitting there like, this has to be known. That's the thing too, when you start really looking at the European scene. And I am not going to act like I'm deep in the whole scene. I'm kind of slowly getting what I would call close to expert at WXW, right? But man, there's so much other talent out there just everywhere, man.
Oh, dude, that's why I always love and like not a strange statement, but that's why I love that we're doing the pro wrestling. Sorry, the Independent Wrestling Summit show, which is we kind of do every year at Carrot, but in a maybe slightly different format. But it's kind of those kind of shows, the Independent Wrestling Summit or the wild card shows or whatever you want to call them, that are always so fun. But I feel like a lot of people sleep on them. There's always at least one match, and funny enough, I said this today in like some chat with somebody. There's always either one match or one person that sticks out
Yeah.
on those shows to where you're like, oh yeah. And I mean, you look back at the track record. That's how like a Thomas Shire who's in 16 karat gold, who was in Ambition last year.
Yep.
Like we discovered Shire, or we first saw Shire in the wild card event. I think it over Tagfest 22, because that was my first festival I remember. But that's just how fun it is. There's always going to be somebody new that you discover,
Yeah.
and I just hope that the fans don't sleep on that on the wild card show usually, because it's always a lot more fun than like I go into it thinking it's going to be fun, and then every time I'm still pleasantly surprised at how much more fun it was than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, I know, man. And this year, it's insane. I mean, you got Jay Bishop uh, against Joe Lando. That's insane.
Yeah,
You have Toxine from freaking Mexico against Spiderfly. I mean, dude, when when I'm talking to Felix when I was interviewing him. He's like, "Yeah, we got something dropping later today. It's got to do with Mexico. It's kind of hard dealing, with a company directly." And he's like, being real diplomatic about it's whatever. And then I look and I'm like, "It's freaking Toxine?" And he goes, "Yeah."
yeah.
And I was like, "Dude, no, you don't get it. This guy's amazing." Like I
That's
just
that's
saw him in a shithole somewhere in Mexico, killing everybody, and now he's going to be in Germany. I love it.
that's kind of the cool thing about WXW, or something I've
Yeah.
always, even when I was just a fan, that I thought was cool, is they always have this eye for talent, and especially when they're just before they explode and become sort of out of reach. But they tend to bring in people who like WXW definitely has an eye for hidden gems, I think. Um,
I think it's the
and there's a lot of guys
biggest
that sort of come in and
positive.
think about it. Yeah, without a doubt, because you're always getting these sort of guys that a lot of people have heard of, but it's still whispers and rumors, and then you see them at WXW, and then like whether it be an Ades who we got over before, or an Adam Priest who we had over before, and obviously those guys were already established and well known before WXW as well. But you know, there's so many guys that you see and you're like, oh, this guy's going to be huge, and then he shows up at WXW for a little while. I think one person I'd love to have back is Fancy Ryan Clancy, because I think he's fantastic and he's really been having a great year as well of late.
Yeah.
So it's just fun just off of the number of people that you get to meet and get to know, that you get excited to see again.
Yeah, and that was Jay Joshua against Joe Lando, not Jay Bishop. I made up a human being.
I thought something was weird, but I was like, okay, I don't know if I'll watch that right now.
I'm just an idiot, sir. That's what was wrong.
I didn't correct you, so I'm just I'm on the same boat, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, you're dead on. I mean, when I think about like guys that I really remember having strong runs in WXW, you got guys like Swerve Strickland, who I remember really having a pretty big time in Germany. Adam Cole, like that is sort of the thing, and I think it has been a smart way to do business. Is why would we bring in guys that have the same push in America and just push them the same way? No, let's mix it up. Like a guy that maybe, and that was my favorite thing about older WXW, and what I mentioned about El Generico, why I was pulled in back then. He wasn't getting pushed in Ring of Honor as a singles. He was just kind of like a guy at the time. He goes over to Germany, and I believe he won the 16 karat that year. And
Hero, I believe, is in fact he is one of two people who have won 16 karat gold more than once. That's him and Tommy End, otherwise known as Aleister Black.
There you go. And that was another, I discovered Aleister Black from WXW. I remember watching it, and I affectionately call like the really, really early WXW shows the trash bag mat days, right? Because they were doing the death matches. So, that I remember being like, that skinny dude in the shorts rules. And I kind of kept that in my head. And then like 3 or 4 years later, this jacked guy in tights named Tommy End. And I'm like, he looks familiar. And he's got this tag team, Sumerian Death Squad. And that was a whole world for me. And so, yeah, man, I mean, that's always been the pull. And Manders is another prime example. I mean, I would say
mention Manders, yeah.
I mean, that, I'll be honest, is what really got me seriously back on WXW as a regular watcher of the promotion, like learning the intricacies, the history. It was Manders, man, because I was watching him wrestling Ahura and Ilya, and I'm going, wait, well, hold on a second. How is the world not losing their mind over Ahura and fucking Ilya Bloom, man? Ilya Bloom? Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, and especially considered like. And the funny thing is, me and Bloom, I say we debuted, but like on basically WXW in general, outside of like the Academy shows, I think we debuted around the same time, or in 2022. So I can confidently say I've called, I think, every single one of his WXW matches. And he's this guy that sort of debuted and was already, even when he first started, he was still so polished. But like as you saw him grow, you just see this, how he's constantly leveled up and reached a new level, and rightfully so, a unified champion now. Like I could not describe to you how proud I am of Ilya Bloom. And I think and hope that he knows that as well. He's an absolutely fantastic talent, and Ahura is possibly, alongside Ilya Dragunov, the most unique pro wrestler that Europe and the world has seen.
Yes.
To come, like he is Ahura, 100%.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or you don't, he is Ahura, and it's not something he puts on or anything.
Right.
That is who Ahura is as a human being. You are all witnessing him as a human being in this.
This is raw Ahura.
It's raw Ahura. And there's some stories of Ahura that I won't tell, but like they're not bad stories or anything, but it's more fun to keep them. where you think like there's some stories where somebody told me what happened, and before they could even say who did it, I was like,
Uh-huh.
this is like a horror story. um, and you talk about Manders, like Manders is an absolute monster. He's fantastic,
Yeah.
and he would have gotten that attention and to the level where he is now, which is by far not even close to his ceiling,
No.
either way. But you kind of noticed when he started doing WXW and 16 karat and all of that. He like that's when you notice sort of outside of WXW in Europe, people starting to take notice of him. Which again, maybe I'm overstating how big of a role WXW played, but I like it definitely played a role. And again, Manders would have reached this level of this level either way. And again, he's far from done because he's an absolutely fantastic talent, and he's one of those guys that is just puts his head down and gets the work done. Um, but that's the beauty of WXW. It kind of plays a role, and like you look at other names at WXW that have thrived. Your Timothy Thatchers, your
Yep.
Shigehiro Iries, guys that have come from outside of Germany, outside of Europe, that have been wholeheartedly embraced by the European fans. And of course, I think the first name of all those is Hero, who we mentioned a whole
Yeah.
bunch of times. And it's like that connection is still came to
Yes.
fruition. I think Felix mentioned in the interview as well with you that that the whole partnership with West Coast Pro kind of came through
Mhm.
at Chris Hero. Um, so that's kind of it's indicative of sort of the kind of work that WXW does and the kind of people that tend to thrive or get very much embraced by WXW and like it's a fantastic list of human beings, to be fair.
It really is, and I think that's the other one is you really you have to gel with what is going on. And I think that's the other testament to the people that continue to be successful in WXW, like Bobby Guns, for instance, right? Like somebody
Yeah.
that an American fan may not know off the top of their head, but I guarantee you every single top guy of the last 5 years, maybe 10, have wrestled Bobby Guns if they've come to Germany. You know what I mean? Like he's wrestled everybody. He's one of the very best. And that's the standard. Like you're either going to be that good as an American, especially because you mentioned the flights, right? Like if you're not good enough, you can't keep coming back. So what Manders did is ultra impressive. The fact that like, Felix and company were like, yes, you're worth a flight consistently. We're going to put the belt on you. That's not a simple thing anymore. It's not like 2016 or whenever when flights were pretty cheap and, situations were much easier.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of speaks to Manders, but also there are
Mhm.
these kind of guys that come in and again, I'm not like speaking from anywhere near the WXW office or anything. I'm
Yeah.
just a dude that yells into the microphone for WXW. But there's some guys that come in and like, yeah, this guy can definitely be trusted. That this guy is a fantastic talent and a fantastic flag bearer for WXW. And
Yeah.
I'm also just a side note to the interview. I am 100% expecting so many texts from people calling me a cornball, and I mean the people I'm talking about for being like, oh, this guy's great, but also this guy's great, but also this guy's
It's so
fantastic.
great.
But it's just the way it is. I very much appreciate getting to do WXW, and I think the word privilege is one that's been important to me over the last years because you know like growing up in Lebanon, sort of go back to that. I've always
Yeah.
wanted to be part of the wrestling business, and it's not something that I take for granted. The fact that I get to do this, so I am going to try to talk up everybody I can because it's a privilege to be able to do this and to be able to work with these people. And the only and we talked about how in your eyes I'm such a great commentator. I think none of that happens if I'm not surrounded in a fantastic system that really nurtures my growth and improvement. Um, which it is, whether it be Felix or Tassilo or the stuff that I've learned from Robert or the tons and tons of stuff that I've learned from Mark about being a commentator who Mark I see is my big brother in the business as well. And that's just the people that I want to name or I can name. So many other people,
Right.
including also Dave, who I can name. It's an environment that really pushes you to grow in the most nurturing and best way possible. Um, which reminds me of the conversation we were having on Twitter about favorite commentators.
Yes.
And funny enough, it's kind of funny that because I'm sure the stream is not going to see this because it's probably going to be a picture or of something.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you who don't know, this picture on here is that of Jeremy Borash.
Oh my
Um,
God. Yes.
he's not my favorite commentator. I
Uh-huh.
I love Borash as an announcer, or
Yes.
especially as a backstage interviewer. But my favorite commentator is actually kind of involved in that area of the company, or in that specific company to that specific time period.
Oh, Mike
And I'm
Tenay.
being cryptic because you'd think so. And Tanay is definitely one of my absolute favorites and tops
Oh,
top
okay.
commentators. But my favorite commentator growing up, and this is where I said the energy is going to make sense, and the fact that I'm always loud and I'm always sort of energetic. My
Yeah.
favorite commentator growing up was always Don West.
That's fucking so awesome, dude. I am a huge Don West fan. I think he got a lot of hate that was very unnecessary.
Absolutely, dude. When I was just a fan, in the 2016 time period and everything. For some reason, there's a bunch of people that were talking about Don West is just loud, it's kind of annoying, blah blah blah. So at that point, I would not tell people he's a favorite commentator. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, just touching back, like my fondest memories of pro wrestling were those early TNA days. Um, you know, early to mid 2000s, a little past the mid 2000s as well. And it's just Don West and Mike Tenay, and Don's
Yeah.
energy and excitement was always so infectious. Um, and I remember when I first started doing commentary, people were talking about the energy. That's when I really realized that he was my favorite commentator and how much of an imprint he left on me as a kid. Just me going crazy to TNA at the time, and him as a soundtrack alongside Tene was always such an awesome experience in childhood.
I mean, they don't get enough love, and Don specifically, because here's what I loved about Don West, and he said it in interviews later in his life where he said, "Listen, the way I looked at it was simple. I came from a trading card background. You know, a lot of people don't realize." And I'm old enough to remember, there was this thing called Home Shopping Network, and
Yeah,
one of
yeah, I know.
the huge things was trading cards, of course, like baseball cards and such. So he was fucking all about super energy, and he didn't know wrestling that well. And he's like, I told him that, and a guy that doesn't get enough credit for having an eye for talent, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah,
Just gotta give him credit. He was the Don West guy, and he was like, Don, just be you. And he's like, but I don't know enough about wrestling. And he finally just realized if I just freak the hell out for what I like, it'll translate. They'll understand that this is a must see show and they can't miss TNA. And it worked. And you know what, too? He really did educate himself so fast to
yeah,
wrestling. It didn't take long for Don to be a really good color. Or, yeah, he kind of did
yeah.
color.
Hey, he was a color. Mike
Yeah.
Tenay is the
Oh,
ultimate
my
play
God.
guy.
Well, Tanay is like, we know, Professor. He's the man. But
Like I definitely have a lot of like commentary teams that I remember fondly, but I think Panay and Don West are probably my favorite commentary team ever. Because especially because those are two guys that can probably work separately, but together they elevate each other so much. With Panay being this absolute encyclopedia for everything, and just the professor. That's his nickname for a reason. And then
yeah.
Don coming in with all that energy, it's just it was such a pleasure to get to watch them. I wish I would have gotten to at least meet Don once before his unfortunate passing.
I know.
And the I you talk about Jeff Jarrett. I actually I think I'm not somebody I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Every once in a while, I'll get a phase where I'll just be listening. I'll listen to podcasts nonstop.
Yeah.
But his podcast episode about Don West is one that I 100% recommend. It
Yeah.
was so nice to hear those stories, and of course we had the the TAC Fest in 23 when GCW were over. That's, the first time we saw Manders at WXW. We had Dave Prazak over as well, who was so fun to have conversations with. Of course, Dave has done so much as well.
Yeah, love
And
Dave.
just, I love just sitting in the hotel, listening to stories, just in general, from
Yeah.
him, but also, stories involving Don West at TNA and everything. He was such a fantastic commentator. Just pure excitement. And, somebody who in my childhood got me really excited whenever I saw AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Christopher Daniels and just TNA in general. He was always just the soundtrack, and he was always there with complete excitement and joy for what he's watching. Um, it's infectious. It's super
Yeah,
infectious.
man.
I think it played a big part of TNA being probably TNA in that period being probably my favorite time of pro wrestling, growing up and watching.
Well, I'll say this: it was the absolute pinnacle of TNA as a company. So you definitely you hit it really at a perfect time because I think we all know after 2009 what happened. Brother showed up, and TNA kind of went down. I also noticed another company that you work with, and I dig the vibe because it's much smaller scale. Is Fight Back Wrestling?
Oh yeah, Fight Back. Yeah, that's funny enough. We talked about Joey Insane and Aaron. Sorry, Joey Insane, Joey Sensation, Aaron Insane, our German commentary team. That's their Nick of Town in Frankfurt, Germany. Yeah, Fight
Okay.
Back is sort of, I guess, the other promotion I do in Germany. And who knows, maybe that expands. But yeah, getting to do Fight Back has been an absolute joy. Getting to work with Joey and Aaron a little more closely. Fight Back is a fantastic promotion in Germany that highlights sort of that middle ground between WXW and maybe some of the more budding promotions. But Fight Back it's kind of its own bubble, and but it's a lot of fun to do, especially also with Joey. That's the doing Fight Back has really helped me build a good rapport and a good relationship with Joey. Not that we would have had a bad relationship, or that we had we had a bad
Right.
one before Fight Back. But, I'm happy for it because it got me to do WXW is a very specific kind of thing, and
Hmm.
I think when you get to start doing pro wrestling commentary and you start at WXW, your expectation of what independent pro wrestling is a little skewed, and I will say you're a little spoiled. So getting to do Fight Back is this easy way to sort of dip your toes in the rest of independent pro wrestling, and like where maybe stuff isn't as super high quality, or established, but it's still a super respectable and super great place to work. And I think they've got some great talents down in Frankfurt, and talents that travel to Fight Back. It's definitely worth a listen, if you can bear having to listen to my broken German.
No, it was really neat to look. I was like, let's look at Mett's compendium, right? And I was like, Fight Back, eh? I like this. And like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of real small scale indie. I like the look, I like the feel. I like that, to know that like these are the future stars, right? These are the future like taste makers. Who knows who is in this crop? Maybe future promoters, maybe future Mett Dimassis. You never know. And that's what I like about watching those smaller promotions. So I think it's super cool that you do that too. And obviously having the tie-in with the WXW German commentary team and all that is great. But like, I just get the feel that like you're the guy that would do that anyway, right? Like you'd be like, let's see what I can do.
Yeah, I mean that's the fun part. It's just getting to do these different kind of like, and the beauty of doing more promotions and working for different people is you kind of get to discover a different, but like a different group, because every promotion has its sort of core roster, if it makes sense, and every promotion's core roster. There's going to be obviously some overlapping, but most of them, are different. So getting to do fight back, getting to do, for short, for the period where it was running, getting to do the Hungarian scene, Passion Pro Wrestling at the time. You kind of get to discover and meet new people, and I think that's a fun bit in wrestling. Sort of you get to see different wrestlers, and you get to not just kind of grow as a performer, as a commentator, but also you expand sort of your mental compendium of what kind of wrestlers there are out there. And I think that's a super interesting part of it. I like taking
Yeah.
wrestling apart in my head and sort of trying to see what some people's weaknesses are and what their strengths are. Whether I'm right or wrong, like I'm never the person to be like, yeah, I'm 100% right, but
Right.
it's fun because it's I love to play management games, especially sports management games.
Same.
Growing up, yeah, and sort of trying to build up that stat sheet in your head is just so fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I just like to tinker with that kind of stuff in my head, take stuff apart, put it back together. Especially with like sports or everything, trying to figure out, okay, where was the chink in the armor? What happened? Why did we lose, or why did we win? It's I'm just a nerd for that kind of stuff.
Same, dude. I mean, for obviously the American side of that, I played a lot of Madden, and you in the thing,
Yeah,
is you got to be able to be good at the drafts and all that stuff. And as a wrestling fan, naturally, of course, I would gravitate to like the EWR booking sims, all that stuff, right? Because the other thing that I became very obsessed with is, I can have favorite wrestlers, but I was always very obsessed with like, you got to be really like honest about talent though. Like as a fan, I get kind of weird when people are like, so and so sucks, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's part of the joke because he's a heel, and then they're like, they really like convince themselves they're terrible. That always bothers me because I'm like, no, like you should be able to like judge talent for what it is. It shouldn't matter if it's your thing or not, right? Like there's so many wrestlers where like either I don't like their gimmick or I don't think they're a good talker or whatever, right? But like I think they're a great wrestler, and that sort of hits that as well, because it's like also doing a smaller show, you can go, well, this person's a good talent. Say there's a hole that needs to be filled, right? Like that's how it starts.
yeah. I mean, like the thing is, I think with like I was also like kind of guilty of that when I was a fan. But it's kind of normal for you to be like, yeah, this guy really sucks. He can't wrestle, whatever. But especially when I started, being a part of the business, I approached it with the mindset of you were always a fan. You've been watching this your whole life. You've been taking it apart, but honestly, you're an idiot and you know nothing about it. So,
Right. That's
and
me.
especially, I think what a lot of fans don't have is um, this connection, the connection to the actual performers. You know what I mean? Um, and like the thing is also, fan perspective is always, not always, but sometimes really skewed to where, oh, this person so and so is a terrible wrestler and they're horrible. When in reality they're actually super talented or super capable, or just haven't figured everything out necessarily or anything. Like it's a process for everybody, and everybody's at different points and levels of the process. But at the same time, I've also heard fans laud and talk about how great some wrestlers are that I personally didn't think have anything special about them. But it's opinions are kind of the opinions, and especially emotionally charged opinions, are kind of the basis of human life. So you're never going to avoid it.
Of course.
um, but I think, especially like when you're involved with a bunch of people, and especially if you've had a conversation or two with them personally, it's a lot easier to root for them. And once you sort of have that experience once or twice, you kind of get into the mindset of, what, even if what this person does isn't my cup of tea, and I don't see it, um, I'm excited for their success. Unless they're objectively a terrible person, which, to be fair, that ever so rarely is the case.
Yeah, and there are a lot of
um,
those.
yeah, but I try to just be happy for everybody's success. And if there's anybody that, and this is especially something that I've really enjoyed of late, because I'm more involved in sort of promos, and I'm not a coach at the academy, but I've started giving a few promo classes or helping with promo classes around the WXW Academy, and trying to have as many conversations with active guys and active girls on the roster to sort of help myself in when I do commentary, to be able to have a better idea of what's driving them, and b, to help them maybe get a better idea of what's driving them, in the sense that sometimes when you're kind of active in doing everything, there's some stuff you maybe don't think about as clearly or as much, to where you don't, second guess, hey, is this the right direction, or am I kind of going through the motions? And as somebody with a ton of ADHD, I know these conversations are super important to me, because I tend to go into the motions very much. So I like to always second guess everything I do, in a healthy way. So, being involved more in promos, and trying to help guys develop and understand themselves, and sort of giving them my 2 cents, always with a grain of salt of, hey, ask somebody smarter than me. And there's a lot of those. Or if you don't like what I say, or think that what I say is stupid, ignore it. But that gives you another sort of, I don't know, like another level of connection with people, to where you root for them that much more. And especially as a commentator, you understand them and what they're going for, and maybe their motivation is a lot better, to where you can explain it a lot more, and makes everybody a lot more unique when you're doing commentary over them. Like, you talk about Dead End in Hamburg, and like that first match, the 4-way with Tihani, Zoltan,
Oh man.
Dita Schwarze, and Bobby, was just such a fantastic match, where everybody was unique, everybody has their motivations, the stakes are high. And as far as preludes for WXW, and appetizers for 16 karat gold, that match was great.
It was very great.
But that's the beauty of having conversations with people and trying to figure out where they're going, whether or not it aligns with, say, what their story is right now. I think approaching pro wrestling, especially commentary, from a much more psychological side of things, while also having the sports and the excitement and everything, is just very much probably my favorite way of working.
Oh man, and it just makes
That
it so
was a
much
really
better.
long answer.
I love it. I love it. And the other part of that too, the original sort of thing about how, the fans' perspective, a lot of it too is, and it's not even just hating. I've noticed a lot of it is people that have never performed in any form or fashion have a very skewed view as well, because being somebody that, I did a lot of plays in school, that was kind of my thing for a while. I also was a political science major, so I did a lot of public speaking. If you have not done that, you don't understand how nerve-wracking that can be, right? And just as well as anybody, right? Like, it's one thing to say, like, oh, I can talk wrestling. And by the way, and I leave it in, and my whole gimmick is I don't edit anything out that makes me look stupid, because I want people to realize, like, I'm just a guy, right? Like, I don't, and I also appreciate from the fan perspective, I like the rough edges, right? And that's also a testament to how great WXW as a whole is, that they make the production so smooth, but yet it does have that edge to it that is really unique. But that is what I think I appreciate from you, is I can tell that, like, you come from a performance background, right? You're not just on camera because you're somebody's buddy or whatever. And you appreciate that as well. And you remember that feeling, though, of like, shit, I'm fucking nervous.
Yeah, like the thing is, there's always going to be fans that sort of underplay, or will always have something to complain about. And hey, sometimes what they complain about is very much justified.
Sure.
But a lot of times, I think and this is like the last little point about about fans, because most of them are super supportive and super cool and nice. Like, and also, I'm always open to any criticism that anybody might have or anything. But I think a lot of fans don't realize that there's a lot that goes into a lot of stuff that happens. And I've heard fans complain about some stuff where I'm like, can't really tell you why that happened, but there's a reason.
Right.
So there's always more. There's always a lot that sort of goes into it. But at the same time, yeah, like the performance background. I mean, I used to be an actor for about 8 years, so I have that theater background, which entertains me about the fact that we're both theater kids.
Right. Isn't it
But
just a special spice
yeah,
to people, man? Like,
it's just you can tell that there's that little bit of spice in there. But sorry, Linus, for some reason, whenever I feel sassy, I slip into my Dusty Rhodes. Um,
that is a sassy,
but
sassy deal, man.
I love Dusty. Like,
He's the
I
man.
feel like if I talk about Dusty, it's probably going to be like a whole episode for itself. But
It's gonna be like a five
but
hour podcast.
dude, there's so many guys whose promos and promo style I would love to do a promo class with, like learn from. Um, but yeah, like doing theater for 8 years and then eventually doing a few professional theater projects. It was never something I super wanted to sort of follow or do. Like I loved it, but it was never anything I wanted to supremely pursue like I do wrestling. Um, but you get a different feel when you've actually performed and done theater or had some sort of experience with that. And directing was always a big part of something that was very fun for me. Whenever I got the chance and doing theater workshops and everything. So I think that kind of plays into me being very happy to assist with promos or anything I can assist with on a creative level as I can, as long as I'm not getting in the way. Um, because like that's what pro wrestling is. It's a creative process, and that's the fun part about it. If you're just going in there and wrestling just for the sake of wrestling, it's not wrong, and you will find success if you're good. But if there's no excitement about the creative process behind putting together a match or calling a match or ring announcing or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be there for long. You know what I mean?
No, and I agree, and it reminds me of probably my favorite quote about just overall what wrestling is, and it was from a strange source. It was actually Chris Jericho on like a random WWE DVD set. It might have honestly been the Ultimate Warrior one where they like just completely defamed him and stuff. But he had a great quote in that where he said, "Pro wrestling is nothing more than Shakespeare in tights." And I think that is so accurate. When it's at its best, when it's at its worst, that is what it is. And you can't blame it for being what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to tell a story, then that's basically what it is, and it's the whole point of pro wrestling, as the same as any kind of media, whether it be theater or acting or TV or music or whatever, is the same basis of it's the same basis for everything in art, and it's emotion. It's all about and this is a game I like to play with people, or if I'm doing a promo class or anything. I always ask people, and let's play with you, like who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Oh my God. Well, my first favorite wrestler growing up, Sting,
All right, why?
because he was the most colorful person I had ever seen in my life as a kid.
And you notice how you didn't say it was because he had really cool moves or he was a great
Right.
wrestler. Okay, the fact that he's a great wrestler is always going to be a side effect of what it is. Like if I ask you who's your favorite wrestler and you say Daniel Bryan, and I ask you why, then maybe you'll answer because he was so fun to watch in the ring technically, and he could do amazing things. But it's not. But it's never. But that's the thing. It's not going to be what he did. It's how you felt when you watched him as a kid do what he did. Um, and
Yeah.
that's the basis of it all. It's emotion. If you're emotionally invested in somebody, whether it be them as a wrestler or them as a person, you're gonna want to instinctively cheer them on. And that's, I think, that's the most magical thing about any kind of media. That's why you can lose yourself in a great video game, which is Mass Effect for me, my favorite video game. It's all just because of the characters. I love every character in that game, and
Yeah.
that's why I disconnect with like some newer games where like story rich games. It's because I don't see any life behind the eyes of the characters, and I just see them as ones and zeros. Like if we're going to stay on the video game thing. That's why Baldur's Gate was so great. It's not just because the gameplay is great or
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons, but because the characters. That's why I feel like a great barometer for how great characters are in a game or in a show is just how many people cosplay them.
Right?
You see a
No, it
lot of
really
Baldur's Gate
is.
cosplay. Yeah, and it's because people connect with those characters and they think they're so cool that they want to just spend who knows how much money to try to dress up as them, and and share their passion with others. That's why I love conventions. And speaking of conventions, I got to do Gamescom last year, which is, for those who don't know, Europe's, or I think maybe the world's, I'm not sure, one of the world's biggest video game conventions. And I'm saying this because I want to shout out another person, which is Dan Malman, because he also is somebody that I've learned so much from, and he's the reason I got to do Gamescom. He's such a fantastic human being. But yeah, I don't know how I got onto this real quick, but just jumping the segues. It's just again, it goes back to just there are so many amazing people at WXW who have that performative experience, like Dan does, who's like he's hardcore, like a rock star essentially.
Yeah.
Toured with Limp Bizkit and was on stage with them. But that's it takes people. I think with pro wrestling, you either need to have a great managerial mind for how to organize and set everything together, but you also need to have a great creative mind and the ability to just stand there and just, even though you feel like an idiot sometimes, just perform. And that's I think the biggest weakness, or the biggest thing that a lot of people have to get over with, especially with promos.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel like you're standing there and you look like an idiot, because it doesn't matter. Like, you have to be comfortable with the idea that you might fall on your face, you might look like an idiot, and you might succeed and still look like an idiot. But as long as you get overcome that, essentially you can say and do whatever. Sorry, that was again.
No, I love it. Because it also brings up another thing that I feel kind of sets people apart, which is vulnerability. And I think you don't see enough vulnerability in wrestlers today. And the ones that you do, like an Ilya Bloom, they stand out so much because of that, right? So, that's another huge part of just, you have to be comfortable in saying whatever. And if you look stupid, work that into your shit. It's so weird how people really kind of avoid taking risks in wrestling specifically. And to me, I think that's so silly, because like, this is a medium that can be anything. Anything. I mean, you see Chikara, you see, we've seen it before with the Ambition shows, right? Like battle arts style. There's, death matches. Like, wrestling is so clearly everything, and that's like kind of the WXW thing too, right? Like, we love wrestling. Wrestling's for everyone. That's a very blanket statement, though, as well. It is for everyone. There is a wrestling style for everyone. Not just the inclusion part of that, which is also the biggest thing that WXW has going for it, in my opinion, is the fact that there are so many different kinds of people that are a part of it. And it's like truly they're here. Like, we're not going to make a big deal out of it, because why would you? We're all human beings here, but it lends itself to what I'm saying, right? Like, there's so many different minds and thought processes going around.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, just like any other art, some art is just going to be objectively bad. Some of it's going to be objectively good, but even the quote unquote objectively bad ones are gonna get some sort of a cult following. Maybe, like, you look at The Room with Tommy Wiseau, right? I think everybody can watch it and say that is not, or some people will look at it and say this is the pinnacle of cinema.
It's the pinnacle, Matt.
Yeah, but see. But it'll always, like, even the stuff that doesn't go well or isn't great will evoke something in you. And sometimes some things are quote unquote so bad that they'll evoke a positive response in you. But that's just the way that it is. And that's, I think, wrestling itself as an art form is also a broad spectrum. in the sense of, you could have anything from your matches against invisible individuals to a year of storyline that cultivates in or ends up becoming, that basically you wrap up with this big step for a character, and you have super fleshed out stuff. It could be anything from silly to dramatic. It can make you cry. It can make you laugh. Um, it's the same as any other kind of art form, whether it be, again, books or movies or video games or theater or whatever it is. It and like we've been talking about this in these like big terms, and then like not big terms, but like in this super exaggerated way.
Yeah.
But leads me to the idea and the funny fact that you don't need to look at wrestling in a simple manner, but you also don't need to overthink pro wrestling. I
Right.
think that's a very fun bit about wrestling. It can be stupid and pointless and meaningless, or it could be super fleshed out and tell a story, or it could still be silly and funny but still tell a story. You can mix and match. It's a spectrum. It's not like
Yes.
a switch that has to go either way.
I totally, yeah, man. And I think what you said is the exact problem, right? People overthink, I think, more than underthink in wrestling. Like, people think it's the other way. I really don't believe that. I think all too often things are overbooked, or they're over simplified, maybe. That over part is the issue, where people just sort of get in their own heads. And that's why WXW to me is such a breath of fresh air, because it feels like anything can happen in a good way. Like, I mean, if we were going by American logic, right? And I just mean wrestling wise, I don't mean like real thinking, because that could be a dark conversation. The Ilya Peter Tihani Pure Rules match. I mean, to be fair, if it would have been an American company, Peter probably would have just retained, right? Like, we would have just beaten Ilya further into powder, and we would have made it this thing, right? And maybe we don't even pay it off. Maybe we just go on. Maybe Ilya is the guy where we just never give him the belt, right? That would have probably been the move, because that's been the move for a lot of companies over here. But instead, it's like, why not make it a special moment? Like, everyone's behind it.
But also, that's the thing. Like, when you think about, the thing is, and I think WXW has a reputation, possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but WXW think of a lot of things, like they try to plan things very far into the future.
Yeah.
And there's always these seeds that are being planted where I think a lot of people don't even realize, whether it be on commentary or in the story or wherever, where there's a lot of times where we're planting seeds that don't bloom until maybe a year, maybe 2 years later. And sometimes they don't bloom at all, but you're planting them, and you'll see if you ever come back to it. That's kind of, I think, why I enjoy doing WXW so much. It's such a story rich and story based promotion where and it's not like the stories are so convoluted and complicated that you can't get into it just by watching a show, like watching your first WXW show. But it's still very story rich, and you do get more of an experience from it if you know who the characters are. And I think that's another thing that I enjoy about WXW is we try to explain who everybody is in a way where we highlight sort of what they've been through, where they've been, but also, still do it in a way, and that's an important thing for commentary, still do it in a way where you're also presenting it to people who maybe are watching for the first time. And that's the beauty of commentary. You're supposed to always explain stuff as if somebody's watching for the first time, but at the same time be able to get in all the intricacies and interesting bits. So yeah, like I've lost my train of thought. I'm really ping-ponging everywhere.
Yeah, just the fact that you guys are willing to take risks is really the main point that I really appreciate, man, because like you said, you plant seeds, but I like that you don't get pigeonholed like I see a lot of companies do, where like, oh, so that means we can't drop a belt here, or we can't have this guy. For you guys, it's like, well, no, that's just part of the growing. He wins the belt here,
If it-
right?
that's the beauty of it. If it makes sense and you can
Yeah.
tell an interesting story out of it, then there's no point in trying to hold back and being worried about what comes out. And it's not to say that WXW is they're very pragmatic about the way they go.
Oh yeah.
They plan things, but at the same time, they're not. From my experience, they're not scared to be like, well, let's see if we can change the plans because I feel like something interesting is happening here. Let's see if we can pivot and see where we can go from there. Because there's some stuff that as in with everything, there's some stuff that always catches on that you don't expect to catch on. But
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about having that balance between let's plan ahead and be safe and sort of know what story we want to tell, but also, well, the story is organically developing in a different direction. So let's see how we can make that fit.
Well, and I mean, I think a prime example is two of the young stars in the 16 karat this year, Zoltan and Ricky Sosa, right? Like, I wouldn't say they weren't planned to be stars once they were in front of WXW brass, but it's like nobody could have expected that they'd be this big of an impact in the company this young, right? Like,
I mean,
unbelievable.
Ricky and Zoltan are two fantastic. I mean, especially with Eglin or Elio Lafleur and now I think he has a name now. It's Dorian DeVoux, I believe.
Yes,
Unless
and
I'm
then Zosiah has a name. What was it? Romeo something.
I haven't even heard of that
Yes,
yet.
that dropped
Yeah,
yesterday over here. So I can't remember what it is. It's
yeah,
Romeo something or other, right? But
yeah. But
Zosiah, another guy, unbelievable, man.
Zosiah is fantastic. But like with especially with Mike and with Egg sort of signing with
Hmm.
WWE and they're going to have fantastic careers as well. That's the beauty of sort of WXW's place.
Next man up.
Um, yeah, it's always we have our stars and it's great and they're fantastic. But at some point you're not going to have them anymore. Like it was the case with Ilya or with Gunther or with Ludwig Kaiser or with Aleister Black and all of these guys. WXW is very much a stepping stone for better and for worse, but it's a revolving door, and you're always on the lookout for young talent who, hey, we might not have the space yet, but at some point it's going to open up. And I think when it comes if we're mentioning guys that have really grabbed at it, Sosa, Zoltan, and Dieter Schwartz are three guys that you have
Oh
to
yeah.
mention. All three of them are in carrot. Dieter has been has really grown into this incredibly technically solid wrestler. It's super talented, and has maybe the most punchable face in the world. But
Yes.
yeah,
And he knows it. That's the best
yeah,
part.
and an attitude problem, but he's a fantastic wrestler. But
Dieter's a guy, by the way, my wife, she, bless her, she humors my insanity with this wrestling stuff, right? And I'd mentioned to you before, there's, German ties there. So it's a little easier for her to like, oh, okay, WXW Germany. Okay. She has a little soft spot there. Dieter comes on the screen the other day and she goes, wow. And I go, yeah. And then she just shocks me. She goes, he's really good. And I went, he is really good. And she's like, he looks like a dick, but he's really good. I said, oh, he knows that.
that should be his autobiography name. But
Yeah.
Pita is really grown and really sort of found himself, and he's like again, uh, he looks like he's always eating a lemon,
Yes.
but he's an incredibly talented wrestler, and then to Ricky. Well, my first experience of Ricky was actually doing the APC show where he
Yeah.
kicked he jumped so high he kicked the chandelier.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, so APC Final Storm. If you guys want to go, and it's on YouTube as well, also with English commentary.
Yeah,
Obviously,
go over there. APC is amazing.
yeah, APC is a fantastic place as well. A lot of super young and super talented French wrestlers coming up, including guys like Ricky, who's Belgian but French speaking,
Mhm.
Uro and Mecca and Suplex Republic and JGU. Just a lot of people that I'm not mentioning as well, like Celine and everybody. But
All of them.
Yeah, sorry. If I start naming people, my brain is like, name everybody. They're all. It's a lot of really talented people out there.
Yeah.
But Ricky himself, he's gone viral with his entrance and music. But the guy is young. The guy has a fantastic frame. The guy can move, and
Yeah.
he's genuinely. I think we're just scratching the surface of how good he's going to be. And Zoltan, who I leave for last on purpose, because when I was still training, or when I was still kind of active, there's a summer camp that happens in Germany, and
Hmm.
it's always run by some of the best coaches in Europe. Sorry, not in Germany, in Hungary, but it's run by some of the best coaches in Europe. You know, WXW Academy, the Budapest Dojo, run by the Arrows of Hungary, the New Wave Wrestling Academy, run by the Greedy Souls,
Hmm.
the Ref Pro School in London. I think Connor Mills shows up there. It's just a fantastic camp that you can sign up to. 3 days of just wrestling, and I think it's already sold out for this year. But that was the first time I saw Zoltan, and he was 16 at the time. And I even got to have a little 5 minute match with him.
Oh my
Uh,
God, that's awesome.
yeah, it was very fun. But like, he had the potential back then, but I promise you, I did not think that he would develop this quickly. And a lot of it, and Zoltan's like, this kid is just, he's living in Budapest, going to school, and then catching a night bus to travel all the way to Dresden to then
Dude.
train and wrestle and do all of that with honestly, I don't think he could have also picked any better of a mentor in Lawrence Roman, because Laurie's also like the exemplary guy you look at when it comes to just working hard and getting better and improving. And you can tell that rubs off on Zoltan a lot, because I am genuinely surprised and shocked at how quickly he's getting better. Like, it's maddening. Like, if you go back and watch Zoltan
Yeah.
from a year ago, it's like day and night. And it's not to say he was bad a year ago, but just the leaps that he's taking. I think Zoltan is rightfully so the youngest competitor in 16 karat gold history, and I think he's gonna get that much better with time.
And then, of course, his first round match is just Bushi. It's like, man, Zoltan and Bushi, like the matchmaking process here, that was a home run. I'm like
I
so
think I said it
excited.
on the reveal. Bushi's been wrestling longer than Zoltan's been alive, but
Yeah.
you look at Pro Wrestling Grand Prix, and Zoltan getting to wrestle with and against both Dragon Kid and Dragon Dia,
Yeah.
to Dragon Kid being another Japanese legend.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Zoltan has been able to really not just hang, but also over deliver, and rightfully so, the limit breaker. And this is not me talking as a commentator or anything. Just I'm really impressed with Zoltan, and I really hope that he continues on this trajectory, because boy is he gonna be special. Like, he's special now, but in a year from now, I think we'll probably look back on this interview and be like, damn, like,
Yeah.
he's still making strides. Super hard worker. But that's the beauty of WXW being that revolving door. Fantastic talent like Mike, like Egg, Elio and Dorian will of WWE will move up, and they'll make a career for themselves, and then
Yeah.
new fresh faces will step in, just the same as Egg and Mike stepped in when Walter and Ilya left. So it's very much a continual process. And I think WXW has a super, super special and important place in the European independent scene.
Oh yeah. And I mean, we're getting matches like Yamato against Axel Tischer, who, I
Dude,
mean, come on.
I'm so excited for that match. You
Yeah.
cannot imagine. Fisher is like Yamato. Yamato, I think whoever doesn't know how just classy and quality Yamato is really needs to go back and watch some Dragon Gate, because
He's the
Yamato's fantastic.
fucking
And
man.
pairing him up with Tischer, who I
Yeah.
constantly say on commentary, and I echo this personally and then just in general, is probably the best professional wrestler on European soil.
Yeah. I think so.
Calling a Tischer match from entrance to finish is just, it is the easiest job in the world. You can follow everything he does. He's
Yeah.
so methodical and capable and technically gifted. Fisher is the man.
Again, I can uniquely speak on this because he was a huge fixture of those NXT house shows when I first moved here to Florida, where my wife and I would go. And my wife was a fan of him before me because I didn't get here until like a year after she did. And she was like, "There's the Sanity is incredible." And I'm like, "Really? They hadn't really been on NXT TV yet either." So I'm like, "Okay." Like, and I was like, "Who's in there?" And she said, Alexander Wolf. And I'm like, "What? I don't know that." And then I remembered Axeman from WXW, like way back in the day. And then I lost it, right? And he is just so good. And he's so, like what you said, he's very methodical, but he's not like methodical like you would expect in the sense of it's not a stalling thing by any means. He's
No,
always moving and he's always looking to surprise you with what his move is going to be. It's never, by the way, the reason why I'm so excited for him and Yamato, very similar wrestlers in that way.
yeah, I think that match is it's just a match made in heaven. Like I
Yeah.
again on the reveal, I called it an international dream match.
Yeah.
Very much stand by it. I think that match is possibly one of my highlights of the first round. Like I'm super excited for it, and I know that probably for people listening to this doesn't mean much because I've basically glazed everybody.
No, but
But
yeah.
it's just I don't know. It's just genuinely the way I take. I just really appreciate being able to do this and appreciate getting to watch all of this and call all of this. Like I've gotten
It's
to do
crazy.
commentary. So much great wrestling, and I'm
Yeah.
always excited for more of it. It's just it's
Yeah,
just
man.
it's just so fun. There's no other way to describe it for me.
And then you, of course, have Dennis Cash Dolding against Ahura. And here's the thing that I love about WXW, right? It can't just be 16 karat gold in and of itself. We have to have an insane stipulation on top of it that is self-imposed by Ahura, which is, hey, so if I lose at any point, that's just it. I'm done. I'm retiring.
Yeah, I mean, he said Carrot is his final destination, and like, think of it what you will. It's just a horror. Like, I like he's I don't know. Like, you can never really expect what a horror is going to do next, and I mean
No.
that in every facet of a horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I'm excited for that match too, and especially with Dolnik as well. Who like you watched Dolnik from 2 years ago because you said you watched like Packfest 23 when him and Hector won
Amazing.
World Cup Festival. It's just the difference between Dennis Cash Dolnik back then and Dennis Cash Dolnik now is just insane. You get whiplash thinking about it. I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same with Peter Tahani, right? And he wrestles Aries, which, holy
Oh
shit.
yeah, Peter
Like,
and I is going to be great. I think they've only wrestled once before, but those are two guys that you just 100% trust to in a match. Like that match is just going to go off.
yeah. And that probably, honestly, one of the biggest revelations for me over the last, I would say, really year of me seriously following WXW regularly is Peter Tahani and his ability. Because I came in, no idea who he was. He's the world champ. I'm like, wow, okay. And it took me all of maybe 2 minutes of the first match I ever saw him in, and I was like, this guy's incredible.
Dude, like is he's Peter's unbelievable. Like you, just how quickly also from coming to WXW that's his growth, and he's also one of the WXW's coaches. Um, like there's a reason he was given a full-time contract by WXW to coach at the academy because he's a wonder talent. Like him and Bloom are very much wonder talents with WXW, and especially
Yeah.
just the like I remember I don't remember what match it was, but I remember he had this gigantic match where he completely tore the house down, and it was a match where we all walked out. We were like, it's insane how good Peter is.
Yeah.
And I remember this very vividly. And it was an Oberhausen show. I can't remember exactly which one, but it was. I remember he comes up to me and Mark when we were just talking about how good the match is, and he's like, "Hey, any critique? I feel like that could have been better." And I remember like standing there being like, bro, you got,
What?
you're a little bloody. You're a little bloody right now, and you just tore the house down, and it was an insane match. And the fact that the first thing you come up to us with is, you guys got any critique, is just like, it's indicative to what Peter Tihani is.
Yeah.
And whether you love him or you hate him, he's just somebody who's constantly on the grind, constantly looking to better himself. And and very much an amazing talent. I think him and Ares are gonna really, really surprise a lot of
Yeah.
people in that first round. Like, not that anybody isn't expecting a great match, but I think it's still gonna go above and beyond, because that's what I think both of those guys are really good at doing.
And just being someone that knows through the grapevine how Ares is, like, just another, oddly enough, very similar to what you're saying about Peter Tani. Never like content with his performance, always asking what else I can do. Literally like, hey, can I do a seminar while I'm in town for like no extra money? I want to teach. Like, Ares is one of those guys. And he's coming back as Ares in Germany. I mean, he's a guy that understands the assignment, and it's going to be awesome.
I mean, there's a reason he's always here for the festival weekends. I
Yeah.
think he's also another talent that's super connected with the German fans. And like, genuinely, I can personally say it's always a delight whenever Ades is here for a weekend. It's always fun to call his matches. He's like you said, he's just fantastic guy
Yeah.
and talent to have around.
Another guy, and I'm excited for to be in this stage, is Titus Alexander, who is really like the ace of West Coast Pro, in my opinion.
Dude, I'm so hyped to have Titus over.
He's awesome.
Because I've seen a bit of his work, and I've followed it a bit, especially after he was announced for Carrot, where I kind of delved a little deeper.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be super interesting, especially him and Sosa in the first round, but also in general, having him on the weekend and sort of being able to call somebody's match live is a different experience than to watch it back, especially also because just I pay much more attention, and I sort of, I'm much more immersed when I'm actually working on a match.
Oh
as
yeah.
opposed to just, yeah. Um, he's some I'm super excited to delve more into his work over the weekend, and get to see what he's all about on like a different level when you see him live.
Absolutely, man. And then, I mean, of course, Chihiro Hashimoto, Thomas Shire. I mean, it's just going to be insanity. It's going to be a lot of people being dropped on their heads and just chopping the shit out of each other, I would imagine. And
I love heavyweight wrestling. I love it. People really lay it in.
Yeah.
And dude, Shire and Hashimoto, like when everybody was announced, I remember thinking like, I really hope we get Shire and Hashimoto at some point.
Yeah.
And that's something WXW kind of tends to do a lot. I think last year it was Sekimoto and Manders, where I was like, yes,
Thank you.
thank you, office. You guys listen to me. You guys know what I want to see. But that's just, and it's I'm super excited for that match. Like, I am so excited for what those two pull out.
Yeah. And then the only last match, I mean, of course, Naito wrestling Dieter. We didn't really mention that. No big deal. That's going to be incredible. I thought Naito looked great at Dead End, by the way. There was a lot of conversation about, and I will admit I was part of that conversation over the last couple of months of, hey, maybe not so great right now. No, he's still got it. He's still got some in the tank, and I feel like 16 karat gold, he's gonna pull out some stops.
I mean, dude, the thing is, like, obviously, especially when you were of his level of quality for the period, for how long you were of his level of quality, there's always going to be, at the very least, something, even when you start, to get up there.
Yeah.
But like, it's the thing is as well, just being in the arena when that music hits, when he comes out and you see Naito, like, you kind of have to stop and pinch yourself anyway, where you're like, dude, I'm sitting up and I'm calling Tetsuya Naito. Like, it's just a different level of goosebumps. And again, rightfully so. He's one of the best wrestlers, not just Japanese wrestlers or anything. He's just one of the best wrestlers of all time. And he's on that list of guys that have reached a level that you always dream of reaching in pro wrestling. And I think it's a great opportunity for Vita, and a great opportunity for WXW. Like I'm super proud and super like I'm still kind of mind blown whenever I see his name on the sheet, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
we got Naito. It's insane. It's just mind blowing.
It's incredible. And then I think it's a perfect last first round match to even discuss because it is, we mentioned him, we glazed him already, Bobby Guns. I mean, one of the greatest of all time from WXW, no doubt about it. I believe still the longest reigning world champion of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah, he is. Like,
So,
but Bobby has just been a staple of WXW for so long, and I think he's one of the, especially like when you look at his the people he was active with. Like I think he started in 2012. You
yeah.
know, the Walters, or the Gunters, the Ilya Dragunovs, the Aleister Blacks, the Absolute Andy, and we have guys that have sadly passed away, like Andy, like Bad Bones, and him being around the time as well with Costin.
Mhm.
Um, there's just it's like Bobby has been here for so long, and he's done so much, and he's so absolutely freaking talented. It's especially fun having Bobby matched up with Eric Stevens. I think that's
Yeah.
like when everybody like I think Bobby and Eric could have a absolute fantastic match, and they could tell such a great story, especially when you think of their stories with Eric being coming out of retirement to do 16 karat and doing 16 karat gold, and him saying, "Hey, it's my last big hurrah, maybe a chance," and Bobby's story of he's never won 16 karat gold. I think that's going to be a super 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 fun match to get to call and to get to watch.
Yeah, man. And Eric Stevens, another one. What a great dude. Like everyone I know that has ever had any dealing with him is like, Eric's a good guy. He loves wrestling. He wants to perform. That's it.
Yeah, and it was kind of. I mean, to be fair, the two times he wins in 16 karat gold, he ended up getting eliminated by Gunther. So Gunther's not here for 16 karat, as far as I know. So I'll see. Maybe that
Yeah.
was his kryptonite.
Good Lord. And of course, as always, it can't be WXW without it being just an entire festival. And it starts March 5th with the Inner Circle Homecoming show. And I love that Felix is like, yeah, we just decided to just run the first venue we ever ran, which I think is so beautiful. I'm so excited to see what it's going to look like, too.
Yeah, dude, I like the Turok is as like I'm super excited to be there. I've been there for metal concerts or just shows or anything in general. So getting to do that, and I know like it being as possible like WXW's first venue, and it being WXW, as they say in German, wie es mal war, which means as it once was. Fan like sold out fans right at the ring and everything. It's going to be
Yeah.
partly sort of an exciting start to 16 karat gold weekend, but also maybe a little bit of a time capsule for
Yes.
to look back to WXW and its origins, and the time that a lot of people are super nostalgic for WXW as well.
Yeah, and then of course night one's Friday, traditional first night. Maybe the most excitement is probably around night one. I feel like because everyone's still sort of like fresh, and those first round matchups are so strong.
Yeah, dude. Like the first round matches are strong, but I like so the thing is 16 karat gold weekend is in and of itself just this bubble. Like you go from night one to night two, where you also have the big main event with Manders and Bloom.
Yep.
Night three, you get that high of finding out who finally won 16 karat gold, who adds their name to like an unbelievably impressive list of names.
Yes.
From Takagi's to your Gunthers, Chris Hero, Aleister Black, Sami Zayn. So many people that have won and competed in Carrot, but also like the Pro Wrestling Summit with all
Yes.
these different races that are going to be showing up. The Ambition with Suzuki, and just like Ambition being its own, like Ambition has such a special place in my heart.
I
It's
love
kind of
Ambition.
so much I love Ambition.
Yeah.
Um, and also, we love wrestling, which always serves kind of a surprise and gives you like, whoever is not in the tournament anymore. It Look, the Wheel of Wrestling show always also gives you kind of a bit of a dream match that you don't expect.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's just so fun. Dude, this weekend's good. Like the
Oh,
weekend is gonna be so fucking fun. I can't wait. It's just this
me
bubble where you
either.
get to lose yourself for a bunch of days in pro wrestling, and whenever you come out of it, you just you're not excited for that first Monday after carrot because you're physically and battered, but then all you got holding on to is the memories, and then you just look forward to the next festival or the next
Yeah.
show.
Which for the WXW brass will just be immediately the very next day starting to plan for 2027, which I do not envy them at all.
There are definitely a lot of perks to not being in the office and just
Right?
being a microphone monkey. Just yell into the microphone. That's my job.
Well, all right, Matt. That's all I have for you, man. I cannot thank you enough for giving me so much time. You have been amazing. Open book. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, it's pretty easy. On Instagram, I'm Mighty Met, and on Twitter, Mighty Met was taken, so it's Mighty Met. Yeah, those are probably the two places I'm active. Yeah, but thank you for having me on.
Of
It was a
course.
lot of fun. Sorry for all the tangents and random rants or random segues, but as you can tell, unless there's pro wrestling happening in front of me, it's really difficult for me to keep a train of thought.
I loved it, man. I definitely would love to have you back too, man, down the road because I'm definitely not going to quit watching WXW. I'm jumping into the back catalog. I'm in for the long haul, man. I love it.
Dude, as long as there's people enjoying the product that WXW is and having fun with it, because that in the end that's what it's all about. As long as there's people having fun with it, it's always we're always happy to hear about that.
Yeah. So until next time, folks, thank you for listening. Go just enjoy wrestling. Quit complaining so much. That's my biggest thing these days. Thank you. Dude, that was incredible. Thank you for